Welcome to Chaos Divided, your weekly dose of Wholesome Hammer, where we explore the hobby, the game, and the lore of Warhammer 40k. We're your hosts, Nurgle Snurgle and BlushingNoiseMarine. This week, we're joined by our very special guest, Tanya, the Warmistress. Welcome, Tanya.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for preparing a quote for us today. Only 5 minutes ago.
You want me to read that for you?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
All right. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the results of 100 battles. Sun Tzu.
Ooh, amazing.
I'm assuming The Art of War.
Yes.
Yes. I've been reading like one little stanza before bed
Aw.
for a few weeks now, yeah. Because I thought it was like, oh yeah, this will like help me with strategy and tactics. And I was like, oh, it's more of a philosophical
Yes.
kind of mind blow. Okay, cool.
How far have you gotten into the book?
There's a lot of stanzas in it, but I think I only have like 3 pages left or something.
Oh, that's incredible.
It's very small. Like the stanzas are like 1 or 2 sentences each. But yeah, it's a very tiny, like little. It's not even a novella. It's very small.
Would you like
Has
to
it
dissect
made you a
that?
better player?
Oh, great question.
Sorry.
Has it made you a better? You can tell we're very professional here. Has it made you a better player?
I think so. If you would look at my stats, you would say no. But I think if you were able to like look inside my brain and find the piece that I found at the table, I think that you would say yes. It has made me a better player.
Oh, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. A recommendation from the Warmistress: read The Art of War.
It's got great life advice.
You can take it to the table or in real life.
That's right.
Multi-purpose.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Well, to get us started, would you mind introducing yourself for our listeners?
Okay. I'm Tanya Gates. You might know me as the Warmistress. I'm the Warmistress on Instagram. Basically everywhere else, I'm Tanya Gates. So I do my own little podcast, which is called The Breast General. So we've just finished season 2. That's actually going out for general consumption after I record this. And I am one of the co-hosts on Forge the Narrative podcast, which despite the name, it is mostly competitive Warhammer 40k talk.
Has it been about the narrative?
Well, we do kind of cover a little bit of everything, but we have 2 absolute like competitive nerds on there, so it does quite often swing into like meta talk and how to get the most out of your lists, how to be like the most efficient, things like that.
Have you found that being on that podcast made you a better player as well? Because I found that like when I was at Rast Reach, yes, I'm not really paying attention, but I was like, over some time I was like, oh, I'm starting to understand some things and like pick up some lingo.
Again, I don't think that it's necessarily made me a better player. However, everybody on that podcast is like a very iconic, I'm gonna say. Like Paul is the voice of competitive Warhammer for Warhammer Twitch, essentially. And Adam is a Art of War associate, right? So he's on Team Art of War. And having that kind of knowledge around me and that kind of like the influence, I guess, confidence around me has been like a real guide to help me feel a little bit more comfortable in my abilities or inabilities, as it may be. And they're just a really big support network for me.
Yeah, I like how you put that, like their confidence is kind of bleeding into you as well.
Yeah, it's like, here are these people who are... I have a lot of insecurities when it comes to Warhammer because of like my complicated past with online spaces. So having these people who are like established kind of figures in the community basically saying like, yeah, all of those people who, you know, say those mean things in comments or who have like been mean to you over the timeline, you know, they're wrong. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're established in this community and we say that they're wrong. So you don't
Yeah.
have to listen to them. And it's been really, really good for like building my confidence in playing this game.
Mm-hmm. What brought you into the fortune narrative sphere?
So I used to be on a podcast called 40K Today,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a Monday to Friday, like everyday podcast. We'd put episodes out every day and sometimes even Saturday. And
Crazy.
yeah, and don't do that.
That
You'll
is
burn
so much.
yeah, you'll burn yourself out for sure.
Mhm.
So inevitably we did get burnt out, and Paul was one of the sort of like relief hosts for our podcast, and basically he sniped me when that 40K Today fell apart, and he sort of brought me on to forge the narrative, and it took a really long time for me to sort of like understand why he brought me in, like what purpose I kind of served to the vibe of the podcast and whatnot. So that was an experience. It was a crazy year. Yeah.
Well, one of the big questions we usually ask is kind of what does your little corner of Warhammer look like, and where do you find the joy out in that?
What does my little corner of Warhammer look like? So
It wasn't a
Are
day
you
in the life
talking
of
like-
the Warmistress.
oh my gosh. Okay, strap yourselves in.
Oh, we're in. Good, let's go.
Getting on the roller coaster.
So I wake up in the morning and I you know, get ready for work, and I grab a coffee and I immediately walk upstairs to my game room, which is also my office and also my paint studio, and I start working. And I work for a company that makes third-party orc miniatures. So my day starts with orcs, and then my hours vary depending on what needs to actually be done. And then a lot of times I will then podcast like we're doing now, or I will go play either Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40K at the game store. And if I'm not doing that, then I'll be at home painting. So Warhammer is basically my entire life. Even my husband plays Warhammer. Our dog's name is Lucas the Trickster. Like, just obsessed.
So it's not so much a corner as it is like the entire like
universe.
house.
My entire being is Warhammer flavored. Yeah.
Do you dream in Warhammer?
Sometimes. Sometimes, yeah. It's like I never left the game store.
Are you dreaming that you're playing the game, or are you like
usually
in the universe?
Oh no, I'm usually playing the game. Yeah.
I mean, that can also be equally stressful.
Yeah.
Well, with all that Warhammer, I guess, yeah, coming back to that though, where do you find like the joy to like do that every day?
I suspect I have autism, and I think it's like it's too expensive for me to actually get a diagnosis. But
Warhammer's cheaper than a diagnosis.
Well,
I'm not sure about that.
At first it is, and then it gets more expensive.
I got my quote. It's expensive. It's not that expensive. Yeah, so I just feel like my superpower is intense focus on things that I find interesting. And the fact that Warhammer is so multifaceted allows me to stay within the Warhammer 40K kind of genre, but find all sorts of different things to do within it.
Because I'm guessing, like, if you had a single task, you probably would get bored of it really quickly. But Warhammer is like, oh, you don't like 40K right now? Well, here's Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
You don't like Age of Sigmar right now? Well, you can come back to 40K.
That's right. That's right. Or you could just paint for a while.
Yeah.
You know, I took 6 months, and basically all I did was paint for a little while.
Yeah,
paint all sorts of different things.
You kind of quit 40K playing for a little bit.
March of last year.
And that was because of 9th and what was happening with 9th?
It was more like how I felt in my local kind of area.
Mhm.
It's a very, very competitive area, and while I don't mind playing that way sometimes, I do enjoy resetting with like a little bit of like, I guess, relaxed play,
Mhm.
where we're not
What
trying to push the game to 5 turns in 3 hours, like we just get to where we get and crack some
Mhm.
jokes. And yeah, and I wasn't getting any of that. So I was like, oh, better I just take a break. I'm feeling on the urge of burnout on all this
Yeah.
competitive stuff. Yeah.
I get that. Like, even especially with 9th, how everything was just like hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s, and just having so many abilities. And then, like, you can kind of see it now, but watching other armies suffer while others are just super OP can get really tiresome. It's not
Yeah.
it kind of sucks the fun out of it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I've sort of decided that I want to just play my meme orc list for a
Mhm.
while and not really care too much about like the meta, whether it's good or not. Like, because I
Yeah.
accept that there's just some factions that if I got matched up with them, I wouldn't be able to do anything.
Mhm.
Right? So make my list to play against not those factions.
Mhm.
Because those games right now are some of the most fun games I've ever had.
Yeah. Middle of the
Yeah,
pack. Good to
yeah,
be.
yeah.
Well,
I
we've talked
played.
about this, that like if you get outside of kind of the top 5 or 6 factions, 10th actually feels pretty good in a lot of matchups. It's like kind of
Yeah,
those like middle to lower ranked factions overall are actually where the game actually feels pretty solid and fun, and you don't feel like you have to like be playing at that like bleeding edge of the meta to even like
Mhm.
survive to
yeah,
turn 3. It's that like
yeah,
top 6 factions where it just all blows apart.
yeah,
It's usually just
yeah,
Eldar versus Eldar anyway, so they can
yeah.
eat themselves.
Last GT I went into, I was like, oh man, like if I get matched up with Eldar, it's gonna happen in the first round, and then I won't have to see it again.
Yeah. Is that what happened?
No, I didn't meet Eldar the entire
Oh.
time.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great event. Yeah. I had some adult beverages and had 5 great
Wonderful.
opponents, and yeah, I had some really great games.
Yeah, I saw the post that you posted on Instagram, and yeah, you talked about the meme list, but you still did quite well with it.
I mean, so they were doing Path to Victory, so I,
Right.
even though I got 3 wins out of 5, I'm still like, I don't know, 7th from the bottom or something like that.
Mm,
So, yeah, if one of my wins would have came a little bit earlier, I probably would have jumped up higher. But whatever. I'm still super happy. I'd never gotten 3 wins. No, I've never gotten 3 wins in a
Oh,
GT before. I had to think
congratulations.
because I was like, I've done better than this. And I was like, oh yeah, it was a 3-round GT. Right.
Okay, what is the meme list? What makes it memey?
It's elite. It's super elite.
Okay.
So I have 1 unit of Shooter Boys because I mean I just need something to hold a back objective, right?
Mhm.
And I guess I could take Grots, but I like my Shooter Boys. So yeah, I have 1 unit of Shooter Boys, 1 unit of boys. And then everything else is just really expensive elite units. So a Gorkanaut, a Morkanaut. I've got Gaz and Makari with 5 Meganobs. I've got an mega armored war boss with 5 Meganobs. I've got a beast boss on Squigosaur, some Storm Boys, some War Bikers, some Commandos, just to help me get some points with secondaries and grab objectives early. And yeah, that's it.
And you find them fun?
Yeah, I'm having a blast. This is the army I always wanted to play
Oh,
in
that's
9th edition,
amazing.
but I was in such a competitive mindset all the time that I
Mhm.
just could not like justify taking this ever.
Mhm.
And now that I took my time off, I went to therapy, done some soul searching, played some Age of Sigmar. I don't take myself so seriously. So, yeah, just having an absolute blast with this bonkers list.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it sounds like it does a lot of crumping, and that sounds what orcs should be doing. So
Yeah, I mean, the Gorkanaut last night, like, just punched a knight, like, to death. Just
Good.
1 round of combat. Just punched it straight in its face and
Did
was
you
like,
giggle?
"Ha!"
Or one.
Totally. I was like, "Wow, that's awesome. Let's do that again."
Yes.
I want more stories of knights getting punched in the face.
By
All right, I'll do my
by
best.
orcs.
By one of the most overcosted units in the entire Orc Codex. Okay, let's go.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, I love that you bring up the Orc Commandos, because I think that's one of my favorite all-time just like models out there. When I like talk to other people about Warhammer, it's one of your commandos are actually one of the examples of just like the joy and fun that Warhammer can be.
Yeah.
Because those like little oil can, like, it's just like it's
Yeah.
fun, but it also
Yeah.
just like perfectly embodies the fun silliness that Warhammer really was when I started playing about 15 years ago. And like I feel like some of the weird silliness has kind of drained out of Warhammer, but those commandos just like fill me with that feeling. So
Yeah, so I've always wanted to like paint my stuff my own way and do things my own way, and my entire army is 3D printed. It's part of my. It started as part of my job to paint orcs, and then it, kind of hit me that these were actually really fun, and painting 39 boys at one time, while soul crushing in a way, was also very.
It's a gauntlet.
It was also kind of fun. So
Mhm.
yeah, what started off as a project that I kind of had to do turned into a real labor of love. And my orcs are very clean, they're very bright, and they're just everything that I love. I just love them so much. And so when my boss made those can commandos, they are sneaky bruisers version C. I just knew that I had to have a lot of them. So I think I now have like 20, maybe 30 of them. I have a lot of cans. Just a lot.
Can you play with that many?
Yes. Yeah, 30 is the max that you can do.
Glorious.
Yeah. Mhm.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, talking about painting, how would you describe your painting technique?
Ooh. I would say my painting technique is called follow your heart. I'm very much inspired by cell shading and Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
I just really love the art style of Borderlands. So I try to incorporate little bits and pieces of that into my own work. So like a lot of deep contrast. I've got a lot of bright colors that are not actually blended, which is funny because I got marks for blending on like 2 tournaments ago. They had a rubric. It's like, oh, good blending. I was like, gotcha.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, lots of cell shading, lots of bright colors, and I have never really watched a tutorial in my life. So I just basically put the paint on the palette and start experimenting and see what happens. It's really important to me to have my own style, like my own unique style that I am working to continuously evolve. Like that's my
Mhm.
ultimate goal. And yeah, that also makes me feel a lot more comfortable in my hobby. Is if it's mine, like nobody else can do it better than me. So yeah, I'm always constantly striving to get to like whatever my style is. That's the goal.
Honestly, I think you're there because anytime your post comes up, you automatically know it's a Warmistress model.
Yes. Yes.
Success.
Success. Yeah,
And if it's blue too.
This is true. I paint a lot of blue. But yeah, so that's always been my goal, more so than winning awards or anything. I don't even put my stuff in for painting competitions because in my head it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if anybody likes my stuff, The last GT that I went to, I won favorite army, and I was absolutely shocked because one, I accept that I have a style. because that's what I'm working towards, right? And through that, you sort of come to terms with the fact that not everybody is going to like your style. And if your style is quite far from what people sort of consider the standard, less people are going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I didn't even know there was like a painting competition. So I didn't bring a display board. I probably wouldn't have anyway. And I didn't set my stuff up for judging. I just piled it all haphazardly on top of my army case and said, oh, everybody's going for lunch. See you later. And then I left. And I left. Nothing was even like standing upright on that container. I literally just left. And so like I was actually very shocked that people voted for me because I didn't set it out for judging.
Was this kind of like a fan favorite type of thing, like people's choice?
Yeah. Which was super shocking. I think I actually have better chances with like an actual painter judging off of a rubric. That's what I thought. I'd have a better chance at that. But yeah, no. It was just people judging, so it's really interesting.
I'm not surprised at all because I think you have a very unique and distinct army,
and it's fun.
Yeah,
like you took the meme list that people don't normally have.
Yeah.
No, but
I'm so happy
do you even see like a Gorkanaut or a Morkanaut? Like that's just like a fun model to have on the table.
Like you might see one. Like you might see some crazy person that brings one. You know? But two, I'll tell you what, it was a lot easier traveling with that thing. Instead of like 200 boys.
Yeah, you kind of realize going to a couple GTs, you're like, I need less model count.
Yeah, like traveling with guard was a labor of love. Like I used to have 2 big cases full of models
to take with you.
Yeah.
Oh, and then throughout your setup, you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
When you're setting up, when you're taking them off, like
when you go into one table.
All the time.
Yeah, and then you realize like your game's going like to the time. You're like, well, I get 5 minutes to get to the next table.
Yeah, and that is me. I'm that person because I like to crack jokes and stuff, and I'm funny, so people will like stop to like enjoy them, right?
And laugh. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of our questions, you talked about painting a lot of blue earlier, is how do you feel about the color blue?
Blue is one of my favorite colors. I feel really good about blue. I wish that I looked better in blue. So maybe that's why I put it on all my miniatures, is so that I can live vicariously through them.
You're so beautiful in blue.
I look like a corpse in blue.
It's all about confidence.
No, it's a complexion.
Yeah, it's actually colors.
If we want to talk about complexion, I look,
Is there a least favorite color?
To paint or to wear?
Oh, I guess both.
Both.
To wear is blue.
Yeah.
Obviously. Least favorite color to paint? I haven't found it yet.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Like maybe yellow. I haven't painted anything like majority yellow. But yeah, maybe I'll do that next. I gotta try painting something majority white and something majority yellow.
There you go.
And then, yeah.
Next challenge.
When I have time, sure.
That's the other thing, is trying to find time.
Yeah.
This is actually one of Snurgle's questions, and it's what is it like being the OG woman in Warhammer?
Oh boy, I don't feel like I am.
You are though.
I'm not.
Because when I started like Instagram back in little 2018, you were like,
that's the same year. No, I started 2019.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
you started after me?
Yeah. January 1st, 2019. Unless you followed me on like my private account.
Okay, then I guess we're both the OGs. Am I the OG?
That's right.
No, just kidding.
No, we're not, because Terry Latorco is the OG.
Right, but I would say...
And Warhammer Joey is also the OG.
But you're also
Maybe we'll rephrase it to being one of the originals.
Yes. Not the. One of.
I accept that, I guess.
Because
It feels odd for sure.
Because you used to do like a woman's focus, and that's actually how you and
Mhm.
I connected. Because you reached out to
Mhm.
me because you would do your
Mhm.
stories,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna little fangirl right now. Like when you did that, my heart just swelled so big, and I was like, oh, and it was just great to like, yeah, connect with you and connect with the community as well, and then grow. And I
Mhm.
think you can agree that like back then there wasn't a big sphere with Warhammer. I remember the hashtag Warhammer 40K was under 1 million. Now it's like 4 creeping up to 5.
It's crazy how much the actual community itself has grown. You know, we were there when we watched the Astartes videos on YouTube before they got yanked off,
Yes.
and like you could tell something was happening around that time. Like that was so instrumental to growing this community. But yeah, things. It feels weird to be considered like one of the first. Um, One, because like I said, I feel like there was women here before for sure. And because I also feel like I just have a tiny little account. Like I'm not an influencer. I'm not on anybody's radar. I'm not, it
Oh,
just
but you
feels like
are. There's okay. I don't want to get too awkward or anything, but like there's people that in my life, and they hear the Warmistress, they light up, they love you, they adore you, and they're inspired by you.
I am the people. That is the.
Not the only person.
No, but I've talked to Kaylee about this. But watching you on PlayOn was one of the moments that made me feel comfortable, like thinking about playing Warhammer again.
yeah. I was so nervous when they asked me to come on that first time. I almost chickened out a number of times, and Space Marine Steve was like, I know that this is scary for you, and I know if people have been like really, really crappy to you in the beginning of your sort of like Warhammer journey. But he says, I think this is really important to you.
Wow.
And I was like, it is, but not for me. Like, it's important to me for little girls coming up to see, like, it's okay. Like, no matter if people say that you shouldn't be there, like, it's okay for you to show up. It's okay for you to be there. And if you have social anxiety like me, like, it's a very good thing to like just try to get there if you want to be there.
And it's so like beautiful and gracious how open you are about that as well, to say that, yeah, I have social anxiety, yeah, I feel awkward in these times, but you still show up, you still do it, and it's very inspiring.
Aw. Well, I hope that my struggles and being so open with my struggles will make it so somebody can perhaps struggle less than I have had to. But yeah, that's always been my goal, and I think that's why I kind of like fight against the idea of being like an influencer or anything like that, because I do have this sort of this mission statement that guides me in all of my decisions. That's it's quite a lot bigger than me, and it's all sort of based off my really, really bad interactions at the beginning of my Warhammer journey. Like, I just don't want any other woman to feel the way that I felt, or hear the things that were being said, or read the things that were being written to me. I just don't want that for anybody else. So that's why I keep showing up. That's even when it's hard, even when like I had a meltdown a few weeks ago while recording Forge the Narrative, and the guys were like, you want to stop? And I was like, no, like I want people to know, like, it's difficult out there sometimes for some people, and it's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to find things difficult. It's not okay to give up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it is daunting, and like I know, like I had a lot of things in my own head that coming back to Warhammer. Like I said, I played as a teenager, and it really, like, it took a lot to get my own head in enough space, and then to also walk into a room where you're like, hey, I'm going to be the one of me in a room of 40 or 50 people, and I got to be okay with that. And, like, you know, Warhammer is maybe not the most diverse at times, and it is scary. So I really appreciate all you've done to make that a little bit easier.
Well, I hope that it has been a little bit easier, because it's tough sometimes out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's hard not to see the correlation between like the big boom of Warhammer and you, myself, and Laura in the space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know what like the one thing is that really has been bringing more women into not just Warhammer, but like other sort of weird niche hobby things. Because like I've even seen a lot more women with like Gundams and things like that as well, which was also sort of considered a fairly male-dominated hobby.
I think it's the mainstreamification of D&D as kind of your like gateway to like, because like D&D isn't really seen as like a niche, weird, nerdy thing anymore,
right?
And it's kind of like if you're going to a game store and you're seeing those other things and you're kind of like, oh, what's that? And, you know, something like Warhammer is so broad. There's so many different ways to get into it. And you're kind of like, oh, well, like, you know, I painted a few like D&D minis, and then you're like, I really liked it. And then you're like, oh, what is this whole like just giant painting project like?
Yeah. Why are they playing on a 6x4 table? Cool.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like the culmination of a lot of things sort of joining in forces all at once, right? Because like we had the Big Bang Theory as well, which kind of made being an absolute geek like the coolest thing ever. We had that, you know, we had, like you said, the D&D explosion and Stranger Things. Like it's like we had all of this sort of mainstream culture on other nerdy things. It's just interesting to see it sort of spill over into, you know, even more niche hobbies, we'll say, because at the end of the day, Warhammer is super niche.
I watched a video recently with my wife, and it was that Warhammer is the final boss of like nerdistry. It's like when you've like gotten to the point you're in so deep and you're just like, I need the ultimate challenge, because like Warhammer is so massive and it never ends. Like it, you know, there's always a next thing to get excited or interested in. Like I kind of like because I've also maybe realized that I'm a little autistic over the last year, and it's kind of
I think we all are discovering that.
Like, there's always something for your special interest to like ping against.
Yeah, it's like I can go real hard into these Horus Heresy novels right now, and then like next month be like, I can go real hard into this like super niche orc lore about like quarks and the old ones and stuff. You know, it's like you can always find like this teeny tiny little niche that has so much information on it. It's crazy.
Well, it's like what Laura and I were talking about last night, how someone told you that there's no such thing as like a professional Warhammer player. And it's kind of, when you think about it, you would never be an expertise of all Warhammer. Like having all the models, you wouldn't be able to. Reading all the books, I don't think you could. Well, maybe some people could, but like there's just so much to the hobby that you would never be a completionist with it.
Right. But I think you can be an expert in certain parts of this niche hobby.
Yeah.
But will you ever master? Yeah. Will you ever master all of it? Like, probably not.
I don't think so. I don't think you could.
Well, like, have you ever met somebody who's like a beautifully painted armies, is like a, you know, GT winning like competitive player, and then also is like read every novel? Like, can you imagine what that person's life would be?
There's somebody locally like that.
Wow.
That's impressive.
The Holy Grail.
Yeah. I'm not sure how like deep in lore, but like the only reason why I got that favorite army award is because he wasn't there at that event.
Is it James Workshop? Is that who is?
No, it's not.
So you talked a little bit about Breast General earlier. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about this latest project and kind of what that all is and what's the inspiration for it?
Okay. Oh, the inspiration is a really long story.
We love long stories.
Okay. So way back, if we go way back, there was a podcast called The Best General, and that was Adam Abramovitz, who he's now gone on to work for Army Painter. And basically, he was the painter guy in his friend group. He also used to be on Forge the Narrative before I came along. And he, I guess, was just sort of like sick of being harassed about not being a good player or something. That's air quotes, by the way, a good air quotes player. And so he went on this mission. He wanted to win a GT. No, he wanted to win a major tournament. So it was, I think it was 2, maybe 3 years. And it was just him exploring the like effort that it took to like get to that level. So when he finally reached his goal, he put the podcast aside and went to work for Army Painter. And I was approached by somebody in podcasting to basically revive this podcast. I had Adam's like seal of approval to do it. And at the end of the day, I said no, because that is never my goal in life. My goal is never like, I want to win this, right? My goals are always sort of like more introspective than that. Like, I would like to be a better player than I was yesterday, okay? Or I want to achieve something that I couldn't do yesterday. So for me, like, winning a major is so out of the like the ballpark of where I am right now that I was like, I just can't do it, right? And it was such a cool podcast, and I just didn't think that I had the skills to like create something that cool and that well produced, and then at the same time like basically take that goal and run with it. And at LVO this year, Val Heffelfinger took me aside and he's like, well, why don't you just like do your own thing then, man? And I was like,
that was a good impression of.
Thank you. He's like, you know, you could call it the Breast General. And I was like, that is
click.
Genius.
light bulb.
Yeah. So then like basically, and so from February to August, I was basically like setting the wheels in motion to make this happen. So I was getting my gear ready, I was like making a plan and all of this, and then okay, well now we're gonna get a new edition. Well, it doesn't really make sense to start this before the new edition drops, so we put it on hold. And then I had like mountains of technical issues once we finally did get around to recording it. But I was just really committed to doing this because I thought that seeing somebody trying to just do better and sort of like, I guess, learn to play competitively, but in their own way, you know, I thought that might be valuable to some people. And I thought it might also bridge the very overwhelming gap between more casual and narrative players and competitive players. Because I want to show people that they actually have more in common than they do that are different, right? So that's basically how it came along. And you know, you always need a coach when you do these things. You know, Adam Abramovitz had Nick Nanavati, and I'm just really blessed that I have a very good friend that is also an Art of War coach who lives local to me. So,
and this is Alex?
Yeah, Alex McDougall. So he's my co-host, and I'm just really excited. I'm super excited. I've been to 2 tournaments. Well, one was like an RTT and one was a GT. And, you know, I've got another RTT this weekend, and then I've got a league, and I've got all this stuff. And it's just really nice to have him beside me through like every step of the way again. Because he was my mentor in 2019. He was my mentor. And I made leaps and bounds progress. And like, he'd been my mentor again for 2 weeks. And then I finally get a winning record at a tournament. Like, I don't know. We just vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a great guy. So
He's one of the best.
Do you have like a goal? Because you've said that you've already beat your record. You went 3-2 at a GT. Do you have like an ultimate, like, if I do reach this, I made it?
No, I'm not like a long-term goal kind of person. I just don't work that well with like giant things to work towards. I know some people are, but I work really well with just like small attainable goals that take considerable effort. That is where I kind of shine. So right now my goal is to win either my first or my second game in an event.
Okay.
Because a lot of the events around here are going win path. So if I win my first or my second game, it'll help me move up in the win path rankings. So that's my goal.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's something that is more attainable. It's something that I'm going to have to work towards. When I get to it, I'm not sure. But yeah, that's probably my next goal.
That's awesome. How do you feel about 10th so far?
I like it. It's not actually that much different from 9th edition. I was sort of expecting more of a wholesale change, but it doesn't seem to be that way at all. I don't like that all the information is in like 4 different documents that I have to go through. I hate that.
Including commentary.
Yeah, that commentary. You see the font size on that commentary?
Yeah.
It's tiny.
I'm interested to see what the first codex is going to look like.
Yeah, I've heard some things from very trustworthy sources. So, yeah, I'm interested to see it too. Good things.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, I'm really interested to see if that's correct or not.
I really don't want us to get on the like power creep hamster wheel that 9th ended up being.
From what I've seen, if it's true, which of course we don't know if it's true or not, I think it's not going to be that bad.
That's good.
I mean, like I said, it could be complete BS. I don't know.
Yeah. Warhammer is just like, you think it's going to go one way and it's poof, it goes another way.
That's right. I thought it was going to be a completely reworked edition, and here we are.
Yeah. Everyone was talking about like, oh, it's going to be Age of Sigmar, and they're getting rid of toughness and all.
I knew it would never be Age of Sigmar. It's just Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar is great, by the way. If you've not played Age of Sigmar, highly recommend. But Age of Sigmar doesn't have as many units, it doesn't use as many models. It's just... Yeah, you can't have a full-on shooting phase with like every faction that shoots without having more rules than Age of Sigmar has. So I knew it wasn't going to be Age of Sigmar, but AOS is pretty tight in terms of a rule set when you compare it to 40k.
See, I was like an old, like I had started building before I got into Warhammer like a fantasy army, and I'm like weirdly holding back for the old world. We were talking about this earlier this week because I don't know, Sigmar, there also just isn't a huge Sigmar scene around here. Like, I don't even know how many games you'd be able to get in. Yeah, so I was playing Age of Sigmar on TTS a little bit, and I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start playing. I'm just going to, like, force my husband to play Age of Sigmar with me at the game store. We're going to make this, like, awesome table. It's going to look fantastic. We're only going to play painted models. We're not going to play anything unpainted, and we're going to make it look totally rad. And it worked.
Awesome.
It worked. People were like, what are you playing? And we'd say Age of Sigmar. And everybody would say the same thing. Oh, they have the best models. And it's like, yeah, the game's pretty cool too. And then before you knew it, we had people playing all the time. And now, like, I mean, we're doing another escalation league.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you built them and they came.
That's right. But that's the trick, I think, is like people have to see 2 armies on a nice board. Like that's how you get people really excited to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Verbally, it just doesn't get them excited. But if you show them and they see it and they're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah. I think people sort of downplay the value of actually having fully painted armies when it comes to growing your community. To me, it's like possibly the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
2 painted armies.
Yes.
That's you don't have that. I just don't think people are going to come and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why, like, I was so happy when they put the painted points in 9th. I was like, yes, this is what they needed to do. Some people grumbled, of course. They're like, oh, I don't want to paint for points. Or they just give the points. Like, no. You earn those points. You stay up all night painting. You earn them. And I feel like that elevated everybody's game for painted.
Yeah. I mean, if people want to like improve paint, like as a whole, you just want to like elevate people's paint. I think having a rubric at events is a really good way to do it, because the rubric is going to give people a guideline on what they need to do in order to improve their paint score. So that's a really good way to get people to like actually maybe highlight some stuff or put that basing material on their bases, and it's going to basically give them a step-by-step guide on how to improve.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, because I think a lot of the events around here are just kind of a whatever the TO is like, that looks good, that wins best painted. Like,
yeah, I don't like that. So, I mean, I know I just won an award that was basically like a People's Choice Award. I actually think that a painting rubric is better, because if you're going to make something competitive, I feel like you have to make it very clear for people what they need to do to win it, right? And with art, it's so subjective that it sometimes leaves people with a really bad taste in their mouth if they can't be like, hey, what can I do for next time to like ensure that I win it, right? Whereas the rubric will tell them, oh, you missed out on like a half a point here because you didn't like highlight the base material on your bases or whatever it is.
Yeah, just something like a chart. Tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Just a list.
I think that's the best way.
Yeah. I've seen it at a couple like RTTs where you judge yourself and you score yourself. Yeah. For those who can't see, Tanya just had like the biggest frown.
Well, I think that comes down to like both imposter syndrome and Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Because like imposter syndrome means that like the best painters out there are going to give themselves low marks because, you know, they think that they're not good enough because they're always striving to be better. So they see all their flaws. Whereas with Dunning-Kruger, sometimes those people don't know what they're talking about, but give themselves a really high score because they don't know what
they want to win. Like, what's stopping them from getting 100?
That's right. So yeah, I people are not the best at being subjective
to
about themselves.
Yeah,
I'm speaking from absolute like personal experience. I do not do things where I have to judge myself because I know I am a constant work in progress. So, and for me, I know that I focus on those negative sort of aspects, right? I'm not going to give myself a fair mark, try as I might.
Yep.
Introspection is hard, and it's not something a lot of people even bother doing, let alone doing it well.
It's true.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit, did want to talk a little bit about being on PlayOn Tabletop, and you've really been kind of part of that journey since very early on. And how's it been to be a part of kind of that growth and story and seeing them grow up?
Yeah, your little boys.
my boys into older, bigger boys. So I met PlayOn Tabletop, well, a few people from PlayOn Tabletop when I was at my most insecure in the Warhammer sort of sphere. Very insecure with who I was, very insecure with like how I might appear within the community. And they always made me feel super comfortable despite being so insecure out in like the greater community, I guess. And I feel very, very blessed to have them beside me. And there's a few of them that I know that I could just like that I have actually messaged to be like, I just need to talk about something, you know, like ugly crying, and they always have like the best advice. So I wish that I lived closer. Lord knows that studio needs a woman's touch.
Oh,
hot take.
oh,
yeah. I mean, so they got really sick after Las Vegas Open, as you do. You get con crud. So they got really, really behind. So then not only are they all really behind on editing, they're also really behind on filming. And it's a production studio, right? So it's like it's a really fine balance, and because of that, and they're still just getting caught up now.
wow.
Because of that, the studio just needs, I just need to get down there to help them organize it. I just need to do it.
Yeah, just do it.
I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go down in like 2 weeks.
Just show up.
I'm here to help.
Yeah, just call an all-nighter and they'll come in the morning and be like, Tanya, it's beautiful.
No, I'll give them 24 hours notice. Be like, Tack, go get some organizers.
Yeah.
Some plastic bins. Let's do this.
Let's get some label. Get the label maker. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I wish that I lived closer. I wish that I could help them out more. As it is, though, if they're like, hey, can you be here on X date? I just like make it happen because they're like my family at this point.
Have they stayed in the same studio as they?
No.
Oh, so they've moved.
They used to be in a game store, like the back room of a game store, and then very quickly outgrew that. So now they're in a studio, and they started with just the top floor. So all of the downstairs was not theirs, and then so they started with the top floor, which was their studio, and then very, very quickly they needed the downstairs as well to become like an editing bay and a hobby area. So it's really interesting to see like how fast they are growing, and like how big they're getting. This is so crazy. Yeah.
And they're just gonna get bigger.
I mean, potentially, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think in a lot of ways they've changed what
battle reports,
like other battle reports look like. Like I think they've kind of set the standard, and you're starting to see everyone else
can
like
reach.
yeah, no.
Yeah, and like if you ever get to talk to them, you realize that like they are not at the standard at which they have always viewed themselves being at. So they have not even come anywhere near to reaching their goals in terms of the content that they want to produce.
Wow.
So how mind-blowing is that?
They're not even you think you know the PlayOn Tabletop now. They're just
give them like 2 years. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
That's
Do you think they'll ever expand into like an audience?
Like a live studio? Like esports?
Yeah.
Oh, not for filming 40K in 40 minutes.
No.
People get bored and walk out.
How long does it take to film?
8 hours.
8 hours.
8 hours.
If you're really good, or if somebody's really getting stomped, maybe 6 hours.
Wow.
Age of Sigmar, I think we did in like maybe 4 or 5 hours, but like there was some stomping happening.
Is that like constantly stopping and marking and putting you in the position and making sure they get the visuals of you moving the model?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's
sometimes you'll have to move a model 3 times.
Is that just at different angles, different?
Yeah.
So you're playing the game like 3 times over.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep things straight in your head because you'll be like in the zone. You know the zone?
Yep.
You'll be in that zone.
You're flowing.
And like, and then they'll be like, wait, do that again. Like, oh, okay.
Do they
I can like feel how that would like just like itch the back of your head.
You get used to it, but like the first couple times that I played there, I was like, oh yeah, I'm on camera. Okay.
How many cameras?
Lots. 1, 2, 3. There's got to be like 5 at least.
And they usually only do like 1 battle report for the entire day. They've
done 2 before.
Wow.
Yeah. They pull some really long days. Yeah. it's usually not to 40k in 40 minutes. It'll be like 40k in Kill Team, or it'll be like 40k in Star Wars Legion or something like that. But yeah, they'll sometimes do 2 shoots in a day.
It's super interesting to hear about the behind the scenes.
Well, you're gonna see it soon, aren't you?
Can we tease it?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, I guess I didn't sign an NDA, so but I don't know when the video will be coming out.
You might have to sign something when you get there, though.
I promise to have fun.
If you see something that you're not supposed to see, keep your mouth shut.
That's hilarious. Because when I was at the, I talked about it last week, but I was at the mini wargaming bunker, and Matt was coming through, and he had like his handful of Warhammer boxes, and then he kind of like slyly like turns over his shoulder. He's like, "Did you sign an NDA?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Don't look," and like scaries out.
So I'm just gonna like tell you a story, I guess.
Okay.
So not the last time I went down, but the time before that, there was somebody else visiting the studio that I just had the pleasure of meeting for the first time then. And then like I see them come in the first day and they're like signing something, and I was like, oh, weird. And I like look over their shoulder, and it's basically like not an NDA, but it's basically like if you see something that's not released yet, you don't say anything, right? And so I go up to Tack and I was like, should I be signing one of those? He's like, you didn't? He's like, no. He's like, oh, you're good anyway, it's fine. Because I'd never told anybody, because I have seen stuff there, right? And I probably shouldn't be saying that, but yeah.
That's the nature of it.
But I just don't tell anybody, because like it's none of your business.
No.
You'll see it eventually.
Yeah.
That's this culture of like leaks and like wanting to see stuff early and stuff. Like, were you the kids that searched for your Christmas presents?
Yes.
They definitely
You were that kid?
Not me.
Oh, okay.
I was never. I just found it anyway.
I was never that kid. I was just like, why would you ruin Christmas like that? Right? And that's the same thing that I feel with all these leaks. People come up to me like, oh, did you see the leak? Be like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait.
Because it ends up like being like when they talked about the 9th edition leaks, like prior to the actual pictures, like I said, it was like the whole Age of Sigmar thing, and everyone's like losing their mind. It's like, well, I don't want to put myself through that.
Right. And I was just like at the end of the day, it's a surprise.
Exactly.
And these leaks that we're seeing are like one page out of an entire book. You're seeing it out of context. It literally means nothing to you.
Yeah, it's like eating the cake before you get to your birthday party. It's like by yourself. It's like,
exactly.
I know.
Exactly. I don't understand it. Like, I want to read it all at once. I want the whole picture. That's what I want.
In your hand.
That's right.
Not these weird pictures with like the weird shadows of...
Yeah, I find speculation I find the speculation so tiring. Like, why am I talking about something that may not ever happen when there's cool things that I could talk about
right now
in the hobby that I know are real right now?
Yeah.
Right. All you people who like leaks, send me a message. Why do you like them?
I think it's the dopamine. I think it's the chase. I think it's just...
You know what? I think it's the chase.
It's the FOMO, like, oh, now I know.
Oh, so maybe it's like, oh, did you hear what did you hear about the leaks? Oh, you haven't seen them? Oh, I know something you really don't know.
Yeah.
It's like the guy equivalent, because I'll throw that out there. I feel like it's a lot of men that do it, but the catty gossipy thing that's
around
like
the water cooler.
They want to like peck it. It's like the hens pecking thing. They're just like, oh, I know something you don't know.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah, but like we're all gonna know it sooner or later, so.
Yeah, but if you know it first, that's like...
It doesn't mean anything.
I know that.
It's the tortoise and the hare.
I'm definitely the tortoise. I'm so slow.
It's better to be the tortoise. It's more enjoyable.
It is. You get to live in the moment. Yeah.
The journey.
And you get to live for like hundreds of years.
Poor hair. So yes, the not so secret is Tanya and I will be playing on PlayOn Tabletop in November.
Ayo.
Cannot wait.
I'm gonna bring my orcs. I might bring this exact same list.
I hope so. I want to
We'll
see
see.
it.
We'll see what I get painted in time. Maybe I'll bring something new. I like to bring at least one new thing.
Maybe 30
You know?
cans.
They've already seen that.
Tanya, we can't do that.
Yeah, you need something else. So I got some like not beast negas that I'm working on. I got like a not mega armored war boss. It's like a mega armored war boss, but
Sweet.
not. Yeah.
You'll most
got some
likely
stuff.
be facing my Chaos Undivided.
Okay.
Mhm.
I don't get to fight against a lot of chaos anymore. If I do, it's like Thousand Suns, which I don't know if you've played against Thousand Suns before.
Before
in 10th edition.
Not 10th though, no. I hear they're pretty spicy.
Oh yeah.
I have crushed Thousand Suns in all of my games against them.
Oof. I don't know. One of the guys on my team is like a Thousand Suns specialist, and he also is like, I don't know, 50 games of 10th edition under his belt already. And yeah, he just like, it was a clinic on like stomping custodies. It was, yeah, I should have actually filmed it because it was like I literally stopped in like turn 2 and I was like, dude, I can't move anywhere. He's like, well, you got to do something. And I was like, I know, but I don't want to. Yeah. So it didn't end pretty, but you know, I think it was a 30-point loss, which I guess is like not that bad, but it's like kind of bad.
Did he have like Magnus and?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure did. Tons of flamers.
Yeah.
Yeah, some Terminators.
Man. I guess if they took the psychic away, they had to buff them somehow.
I guess. Yeah. But like Grey Knights aren't like this.
No.
Right? Good old G-dubs.
You used to main guard. Are you thinking of guard for 10th?
No.
No.
No, I'm not.
I don't know. Laura played guard the other night, and there is some impressive things that guard can do, but yes, I don't know. Yeah,
it's not. I never really pick an army based off like how powerful they are. Mm-hmm. I feel like from what I've looked at the guard rules, I could definitely take them and like make a game of it. But I got so burnt out trying to make guard work through 9th, and then like when I knew that the book was going to come out and it's only going to be valid for like 3 to 6 months, I was like,
that was dirty.
Yeah, and I knew beforehand, right? Like I didn't know, but like you kind of know. Like you can kind of get the feeling of what's going to happen, right? And so I was like, I'm just not going to even worry about the last book. And then when I stopped playing them, I just haven't felt that spark to bring them back up again. So we got to take a little bit more of a break on them. And orcs are just so silly.
Yeah.
And I really feel like in my Warhammer career right now, I need silly in my life.
That's what we need. Silly Hammer. Let's just do it.
Silly Hammer. Yeah.
I'm here for Silly Hammer. Well, and that's what actually the reason I bought some guard is because I feel like you can play them in like the just like waves of body silly that you used to be able to play them in, where you just throw endless guard at people and that's what you do. But yeah, I feel like 9th was like such a both like it was terrible and then like just like crushing.
It was terrible and then it was terrible in a different way.
Yeah.
Like there was no chill in that transition.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm usually a person that feels the most comfortable playing an army that has about a 50% win-loss kind of record in the meta. I hate talking about the meta because it's just not how I make my decisions at all. But that's kind of what we do at Forge the Narrative. So yeah, I don't know, that's where I'm comfortable at. So when something's too good, I don't want to get my wins because it's too good. And then if it's like real bad. I actually feel more comfortable playing it when it's real bad.
Because it's earned.
Yeah, it does. It feels more like I've earned it, but it's still, it feels bad in a different way because you feel like you don't have as much agency over the game. You don't feel like you have the right tools for the game. And it's really tough playing a really underpowered faction. So, you know, all those AdMech players out there, I feel you. I did it for a long time.
I feel I mean, anyone playing Eldar right now, I feel like that's what you're dealing with, is that like you're not even getting to play the game against Eldar unless you, I guess, are also playing Eldar, which then just takes a lot of the like joy out of it. Like, I don't care about the win or the loss. It's more about like the joy and excitement of the game itself.
Yeah.
And I want it to be that like close back and forth. You can't predict it. Like, you know, really leaving it up to the dice. Like, I think that's where the best games come out of. And yeah, I think, you know, I would rather be on the underpowered side than the overpowered side, because it doesn't feel good to just like crush someone.
Yeah, no. And then, so like I transitioned from guard at their worst to custodes at their best, and I didn't have any like, and that was the plan all along, was like, and I actually went to my first, was it my first RTT? It might have been my first RTT of 9th edition, and it was before the new Custodes book came out, and I did fairly well. So then I was like, okay, well, like maybe I'll just transition when the new book comes out. So I transitioned, new book comes out, and like they're just the best thing since sliced bread. And I'm like, well, this is not really what I signed up for either. Like, I was having people come to the table like immediately defeated, even though, because they just saw that I was playing Custodes, and I was like, yeah, but like I intentionally took like on like not the list, right? There was 2 the lists, and I was not bringing either of them. And they still came to the table like dejected, and I was like, this isn't cool either. Like, I don't want to come to the table and have them like kind of complaining that my stuff is too good, but then I don't want to complain that my stuff is so bad. So yeah, then I was like, okay, it's just time to take a break and like sort of, you know, do some soul searching and figure out what I want to do. And yeah, then I switched to Age of Sigmar. That was what the doctor ordered.
And you found your soul.
I did. It was my first army that I ever played, because I played Age of Sigmar 2.0. 2.0? 2.0, yeah. I think was like the very first war game that I ever played. And yeah, it was just really good to go back to my spirit animals again, my ogres. They really, and I was playing them before their new book came out, so they were like not that good. Everybody said that they were so bad, but I was just having so much fun with them. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is why I like Warhammer, right? Yeah, like, for me, I really like the soul of the ogres. I just feel like they're my spirit animals, because they're always hungry, they're big, they're cranky, and they're always cold because they're being, you know, chased by a magical snowstorm. And I was like, same.
Samesies.
Same. Yeah. And yeah, so I just like have this bond with these ogres, and it was just so good to just put them on the table, not worry if they're good or bad, and just have fun. And then I was doing fairly well, and then their new book came out, and I started absolutely crushing it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. No, but I've put them aside. I'm playing Night Haunt now for a while. Yeah.
I feel like it feels less bad when you have like your army and the meta moves around it. Like, you didn't chase it, it just like arrived at your doorstep.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's kind of up to you what you do with that. Like, you don't have to have the list, or like, you know, even a top 10% list. Like, you know, even if our faction is completely broken, you don't have to play it as brokenly.
Yeah. I think too, a lot of people, they sort of come into the hobby and they want to play competitively. Like, that they come in and that is what they want to do. So then they grab the list, and then they don't do very well with it, or they don't achieve what they expected to achieve. And I think there's a number of reasons for that. And I think it's something that we don't really talk about that much, is like, one, there's a lot of concepts in wargaming in general that you kind of need to master before you can take the list, and then really crush with it. But then the other thing that nobody really seems to talk about is play style, right? Like, how do you like to play? And this is something that I think really solidified my thoughts on it when I did a tiny little switch when I was playing Guard. For one tournament, I actually played Space Wolves, and which is just my painting project. It's not anything I usually play, and I was like, man, these, like, that up till that time, that was the best I ever did at any tournament. And I was like, I'm doing really well for me, but I'm not enjoying it. And I feel like I'm not getting as much out of this list because it doesn't vibe with me. Like, I'm not this aggressive player, right? Which is funny because I play orcs as well. So, like, from that point on, and then from that point on, I was like, oh, I really just need to make my own lists, is what it is. And because I'm really reactive and defensive, and I think a lot of men play the complete opposite, right? They'll play they want to push the action, they want to get the first charges off, they want to do the most damage, and and like that is not really how I play. I like to, I like to take Swiss Army knife lists where I have lots of different tools, and also I have this thing where, like, visually the army just has to look varied. So, like, I can't just take all infantry, I can't just take all, like, vehicles or whatever. I gotta take, like, a little bit of everything just to, like, tickle my brain a little bit, like the artist's brain. It's gotta look a certain way. But yeah, I have a question for you guys then. Do you think that men and women play the game differently?
Yes.
Because you get to play each other. I don't get to play against women that often. Very rarely. I've played against a woman twice. That's it. So, but in both those cases, I did kind of see that there was, like, differences in how women were coming to the table.
I definitely think that because there is more women around here that play Warhammer than, just 2 games. That's mind-blowing right there. But yeah, I think even just the way you, like, even from, like, list building and, like, intention going in, like, to the table itself, I feel like it's a different approach.
Okay, so, like, what is the feminine intention when in list building then? Would it be more to, like, looking at tools to play the mission? Would it be more like a creative kind of thing?
Finding the combos, the synergy.
I don't know if I feel like it's more like focus on, like, the game itself rather than, like, absolute pure, like, killing power, maybe.
Yeah,
can I get the secondaries or
yeah,
and I mean,
because sometimes when I even get to the table, like, my first round, like, my very first turn, I will sometimes be very, like, defensive, just set myself up for the next turn so that I can kind of have more information to react off of. And I don't often see that from men. I'll sometimes see it at, like, the very top end of competitive play, where they do it excellently and much better than I do. I do not do it excellently. But yeah, I always find that really interesting.
That is a very interesting question, but I think the best people to ask that is people who've played us. Do they see a difference?
Yeah, that's a good. Well, on the next episode, I should interview some people who play you.
No, you know what though? But I also feel like there is a certain. I think it is more of that, like, objective focus, but I think it does also, like, translate out differently in, like, factions and like different factions play differently, and I do think like I think of, like, when I play, like, Chaos Space Marines versus, like, when I play Tau. Like, Tau are such an objective focused faction, especially right now because they're and, like, Chaos Space Marines, like, they basically wrote that index as a kill or be killed because you will kill yourself. So, like, it, like, forces you to play very differently. But yeah, I think it's even just, like, even a degree of just like how you approach the table as well. Just like it's a different feeling table. Like I feel like, yeah, like Haley, when you and I play, it's like definitely more just like chill in a lot of ways, and it's a like it definitely feels more like it's like a back and forth, and we're just like talking through the game in a way. Whereas like I feel like when I play like a lot of guys, it's a lot of just like they're quietly thinking through and then moving stuff, and like I feel like I don't ever stop talking, and I don't think you ever stop talking when we're like playing a game.
That they think about it, and
it's like quieter. It's like less, not even necessarily, even if people are like playing with intention, it's very like I move this here, where it's like I feel like when you and I are talking, it's like I move this here and this is why, and like this is what I'm thinking, and it's like more of a just like talking the game through.
Honestly, it's more like I don't know how it's gonna go, so I'm like, let's see how that goes. I just want to see how that plays out.
I totally learned that way. So like I really admire having an opponent who gives me the free information, be like, oh, are you sure that you want to move that there? Like I have this ability. But like sometimes I will actually say like, oh, thank you for telling me that. I want this to be a learning experience. So yes, I am going to do that, and we're going to play it out because I obviously need to commit this to memory.
It's almost like chess. Like I've put my hand on the piece, I moved it. We'll face the consequences when we get there.
That's right. And I know a lot of people don't like to play that way, but so I have a friend who I play on Tabletop Simulator quite often. We play Age of Sigmar, and I do a little bit of coaching with him. And that's what I always say to him, like, okay, like we're going to just stop for a moment and talk about this situation and talk about how it potentially could play out. I will allow you to take it back if you don't want to do it. However, I do recommend that you play it out. Right? Because there's also like a lot of lessons to be learned from playing on the back foot. Like a decision that you made was really bad and it's all your fault. But at the end of the day, you still need to finish the game. You owe that to your opponent. So like you should learn how to play it out. And you never know, like you might even be able to turn it around in the end, or maybe your goal shifts from winning to like just keeping the score tight.
Yep. You can still roll all sixes and your opponent can still roll all ones. So
that's right. It's a dice game. And at the same time, like the best players in the world could play you down a considerable amount of points and still win the game. So if you can like use those opportunities to learn like creative tactics and things like that, you will just become a better player.
This actually reminds me of the last GT I went to. I played a round against Chaos Knights, and he went first and then I went second, and my first turn just absolutely everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I was like, you've got this, like there's no way I can recover from this. And I ended up winning the game because it just like I just kept pushing at it, and it was like I had ended up setting myself up in the worst possible position. But you can get out of those situations, and it's part of the game is learning how to like unwind the charge that didn't happen, or the shooting that didn't kill the thing that needed to be killed, and like, misplacement on an objective. Just like you can really bungle something up and turn it around.
For sure. And like, I've done it before. I don't know, it just feels so good when you do it too. Like when you're like so sure that it's going to run away from you in turn one, and then you just sort of like readjust your expectations, you readjust your game plan, you create new tactics, and then you either, turn it around or you keep it close. Like that just feels so good. And those are, even though maybe the score doesn't say that you won, you still won in terms of like your mindset over the game and the puzzle of the game itself. Like, you still killed it. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back.
Yeah.
It's
true. You can never not learn enough in a game.
Yeah. So the episode of the podcast that I did that's coming out tonight is we have a big section on like getting the most out of your practice and what actual practice games look like. So we talk about something and then I get homework. So my homework for this next week from the podcast is that I need to get a couple of practice games in against a archetype of list that I don't do well against. And so I'm just really interested to put into practice some of those tips that Alex gave me. And also, I'm going to be playing against my husband for these practice games, which he's a very good player. So he's the one who actually taught Alex how to play.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm like surrounded by greatness, and then there's little old me. So
Still great.
Yeah, it's in my own way. So yeah, and we sometimes get a little salty with one another. We've been better about it lately, so it'll be really interesting to see how we do going into it. But yeah, he's going to be playing like a very aggressive Chaos Space Marines list against me, and so yeah,
I have some ideas if you need a list.
Oh, me? If he needs a list?
If he needs a list,
he is very much a Johnny when it comes to playing. I don't know if you ever talked about like the Timmy, the Johnny, and the Spike.
I've heard, yeah, they're like isn't that like a magic term?
Yeah, it's okay. There's basically 3 archetypes of players when it comes to Magic the Gathering, but honestly, it kind of works with everything. So, Timmy is the guy who is strictly rule of cool. He's only going to bring stuff in his list that he thinks are just so cool. And he's like, that little kid that like likes Transformers because they're cool, like that sort of infectious kind of enthusiasm for the list, for the models that they want to play. Spike is somebody who is like competitively minded. Their fun is winning, whether that be winning a tournament or just reaching their goals or whatever. That is Spike. And Johnny is the person who likes to win, but through like their own terms, right? They want to like find underused units. They want to create like a combo that nobody's thought of before. And so my husband, I hate him for this. He brought a Land Raider Redeemer in like one of his first games of 10th edition, which is like a Flamer Land Raider, right? So Redeemer, or am I thinking the Crusader? Whichever one is the one that has all of the Flamers on it, right? And so like he just parked it in the middle of the table in this one game and just shot everything. Like, I'm just going to Overwatch every turn. Just, yeah. And now there's like 3 other people in my meta who are like also using this thing, and I hate it.
He's a trendsetter.
He is. He's a trendsetter, and he does all of this stuff. So, yeah, he'll never play like a net list. He'll never play anything that is like known to win GTs because he just wants to find the magic sauce himself.
I love that. He's
good at it.
Does he play in GTs? Do you guys play together?
No, he's not competitive at all. He was basically begged to come to one of the local RTTs because they had an odd number of players and the TO really wanted to play. Right. So my husband was like, fine. So we made a Chaos Demons army. This is the other thing. My husband has everything. So he made a Chaos Demons army just out of stuff that he thought was cool, but he doesn't follow the meta. So he doesn't know, right? But he just thought it looked really cool. There's great synergy. Had some wombo combos. He was like, and it's painted. It's important to him. So he brought that. And first round is just a 3-rounder, and like nobody has seen him at events because he just does not play, right? Alex knows that he used to be a shark back in the day, right? But he's chilled out. He's an old man now, right? He's quite a lot older than me. And so he goes to this RTT, unpacks this beautiful army. TO comes up after, is like, hey, how'd you do? My husband's like, oh yeah, I won. And it's like a big differential. Like, it was a big win. It's like, oh, okay. So round 2, he goes up and he's like near the top tables now, right? Because that was like a big win. And I think he is going into Death Guard when Death Guard were not bad. Which was a long time ago. And so he rolls up and he plays his game. TO comes over. How'd you do? Oh yeah, I won that one. TO's like, okay. And then so last round he's at top table, handily wins. He's like one of the first ones done the game. he wins the whole event and he's like, doesn't care.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, thanks for the 3 games. I'm gonna buy this piece of cake and go home. Because it was happening in like a little coffee shop with like the best cakes in town.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and it's just so funny because like nobody really knows like what my husband is actually capable of, like if he cared.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like if he cared, I think my husband could be better than Alex.
Wow.
But he doesn't care.
So is he one of the types that can just read a codex and he understands how everything works?
Maybe not everything. Like he won't remember everything just because he has so many codexes and so many rules inside his head.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays other games too, right? So he also plays Age of Sigmar. He also plays Last Days. He also plays Necromunda and Star Wars Legion.
Wow.
And he just plays everything, right? Because he loves playing. If he just focused on Warhammer 40k and nothing else, yeah, he could probably be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my sparring partner this week. Wish me luck.
Is he the Mr. War Mister?
The Warmister? I call him the Warmister because
cute.
he's actually he's kind of shy in a lot of ways. Like not shy, but he just doesn't like social media at all. He doesn't like photos being taken of him. He's just this guy who's just happy to exist in his own quiet, confident way.
Yeah, some people are like that.
Yeah.
Like, blood god, my fiance Jared, he's just not good with social media. He forgets to post and he's like, yeah, don't care.
Yeah. My husband will have like years between posts. He doesn't care. Whatever. I'll post when I want to.
It's hard work to be on social media.
I basically like walked away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like not really walked away. I'll post when I like when I have something that really inspires me. I'll post something, or if I complete something and I think about it, I'll post it. But yeah, I find it really. I would much rather like create something.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd much rather spend that time because it can be a full-time job just answering DMs sometimes.
Yes.
You know, and so. Yeah, I've taken a step back. I'd much rather spend that time like actually painting or actually playing games or actually creating something. Like I would just rather be editing than answering a bunch of messages or thinking about what I'm going to post. What blows me away is people who have like a schedule.
Do they really?
Oh, yes. Yes, there are definitely people who schedule their posts. And I'm like, how do you... I literally just post whatever comes to my mind.
Yep. This is a journey, not a job.
Yeah, I'm not getting paid for this. I get paid for the other social media that I manage.
Yeah.
I don't get paid for mine, you know?
Yep. That's social media.
I know everybody thinks that like, oh, it's you know, so easy. All those people like with 20,000 people following them or whatever. Like, no, it sucks because you're not getting paid. Like maybe you get some free product, but what comes along with that free product? You know, like, do you have to say good things about it when maybe you don't think good things about it? Like, yeah, I don't know.
And
I turned down so many like offers to like quote collab.
The C word.
Yeah. With companies that send you like a copy paste message that you know that they've sent to like 200 other people. Like don't accept those. If they can't write to you like you're a human being and use like your real name, you know, and talk with you, like that's not something you want to get into a partnership with, no matter how much like no matter how much you think it might make you look like quote valid content creator. It doesn't give you any, it doesn't feed your soul.
It is sound advice too, because like people who are starting out, they're gonna see that and think it's like, oh, it's a great opportunity, this is gonna jumpstart everything, fast track to where I want to go. But sometimes
as somebody who runs an affiliate program as well, the only affiliate programs that are worth anything to you are ones that allow you to join a Discord server with the other content creators, because you will not make any money off of affiliate codes unless you're like gigantic, right? But sometimes those affiliate programs can allow you to network with other creators, and then you'll have a resource of people you can bounce ideas off of or build relationships with to actually collaborate with. That's where the real value of those programs are. So if your affiliate program that's being like sold to you, essentially, if it doesn't have an online community, I just don't think it's worth your time. Yeah.
Great advice.
Unless you really, really love the product.
Yes.
Then maybe it's worth your time.
Yeah. Because, yeah, like, people will see right through that if you're not in love with it. And
you see it all the time. Yeah.
Don't sell your soul.
Don't sell your soul, especially when it comes to your hobby.
Yes.
Like, if you start doing a lot of that stuff when it's your legitimate hobby, you run the real risk of burning yourself out and then just walking away from everything. And that would be such a sad thing for you as an individual, but it would also be a sad thing for the community that doesn't get to experience your wonderful presence anymore. So yeah, I would really just think about like who you throw your hat in with,
and not spreading yourself so thin.
Oh yes, that's the other thing.
You only have so many hands, and there's like millions of cookie jars.
That's right. And like definitely turn off all notifications. All of them. Seriously.
Yeah.
I have 3 ways in which is best to contact me, and none of them are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Like, no, I don't get any notifications.
I can only imagine. I'm like,
I have a friend that has like, I think 3 million followers on TikTok and is getting like really close to 1 million followers on Instagram.
Wow.
And like when we were first sort of talking, he was like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't see your message. And I was like, homie, like if you didn't have your notifications turned off, I would be questioning your sanity. Like, I understand. You can get to me when you get to me. I completely understand.
4 million pair of eyes watching what you're doing. What kind of account is he?
I'm gonna give him a shout out
do it.
Because he's amazing. I'm going to tell you the story, actually. The story's really funny. So he does art. His account is Dayno Art, DaynoArt. And he is an illustrator, an artist, and he does these like viral reels and TikToks where he will just draw on whiteboards. So sometimes he'll draw like the comments, what people suggest in the comments, etc. And some of them have millions and millions of views. And I had been a fan for a really long time because like it's very wholesome. It's just very nerdy and cute. And I just really enjoyed how his content made me feel. It's just like a really nice escape from like the dark and depressing nature of the world at times, right? And so I was streaming on YouTube because I do a little hobby stream on Mondays. And normally I don't care about like, quote, celebrity. But this is somebody who's creating something that like has given me a lot of joy, and yeah, I just really love what he's creating. So I'm in my chat and I see him come in, right? And I dropped everything and I was like, that is not Dayno art. And he's like, well, yeah. And I was like, well. And I actually said, I'm like, I'm a huge fan. How do you even know who I am? And he's like, I'm a huge fan of yours. Wow. And I was like, what is even happening right now? And so like we sent each other messages after, and he plays Warhammer.
Wow.
He plays Chaos Space Marines.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah. And so he had been using my little like rules explanation videos to get better at the game because he was playing with his brother. And I was like, this is so crazy. And yeah, and he's just as freaking wholesome in real life as he is in his videos. And so yeah, I sent him some orcs actually, because he has a little orc army, and he sent me a painting that's in the mail right now, and I can't wait to see it.
What a wonderful connection. This community is amazing.
I know, and like there's so many people who you wouldn't like assume who play Warhammer that do. Like people from all over the gamut of life experiences play this game, and that always like is bizarre to me, because like one of my sparring partners is like straight up a physician. Where else would I become friends with a physician?
Exactly. Like you're
right?
meeting so many people from all walks of life.
Right, and like one of the guys on my ITC team is like a like super famous chef here at like the up at the golf course. So I think he actually just quit because it sounded like the hours were ridiculous.
As they always are.
Yeah. And he's got kids, right? He only wants to be at home.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. And like where would I ever meet somebody like that? Those people are always working, except when they're playing Warhammer.
Which is the glue that brings us together.
That's right. I always think that's so cool, because like how many other people get to branch out of like their strict, rigid social bubbles?
Exactly.
And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and Warhammer gives you such like an easy thing to like talk about.
Yeah.
And it like breaks down so much of that like
it's an icebreaker.
Awkwardness. Yeah. You're like, oh. Like it's like when you're like, oh, you play Warhammer, and then it's just like,
what do you play?
You just like instantly connect.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
what army?
Did Magnus do anything wrong?
The first question: death to the false emperor, or
yeah. So I just think that's really cool, and like I just don't know where else I would be able to count like lawyers and physicians and like other professional people in the same friend group as people who like pump gas at a gas station. Yes. You know, I don't think there's a lot of other areas where those people would like freely intermix, and it's a really cool kind of social dynamic that I really enjoy watching.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, because it's all random people getting together, whereas D&D you have to have like a friend group and consistently play together, whereas Warhammer it's like, oh, you can pop up to your local store or there's a GT and you get all together and then you start to converse with one another, and it's just like big. And
you know what never comes up? What do you do?
Yes.
Nobody cares. Like you'll know these people for years before you find out what they do.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy on my ITC team. I still don't know what he does. Like I think it's IT, but I don't know.
Whereas like you've heard like in other social circles, it's like, oh, what do you do? What do you do?
Right. I play Warhammer. Yeah. That's what we do, and we know that, right?
I literally, like, when I started playing again, my wife, I'd like, you know, go play with somebody or meet up with someone, and my wife would be like, "Oh, like, you know, what's their story? Like, what do they do? Like, do they have a family or anything?" And I was like, "I don't know. We just play Warhammer."
Yeah,
like,
they play orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that's so neat. I'm like Marge Simpson. I just think they're neat.
The great equalizer.
And I'm excited to see even in 2 years what Warhammer will be.
Yeah, I think things are changing so fast that there's no way that we can predict. You know, I feel like there's 2 ways that it could. Well, there's probably 3 ways that it could go, and one is like kind of just stays the same. The next one is that it just becomes too financially out of reach for a lot of people, and in which case it kind of drops off. Or the third one is that this like Netflix TV show or whatever actually pops off, and then we have another exponential growth of fans.
Yes.
So, and I'm not sure. It could go either way, and I really don't know which way is like the most likely.
We're just riding this wave all together.
That's right. I mean, I'm so far in that it doesn't matter what happens. I'll go down with this sinking ship.
Yep. I'll be there right with you, Captain.
We'll just be clinging to the mast.
With the rats, the Skaven.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're getting pretty long in the tooth here. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other stories to tell, or?
Oh man, I have a lot of stories, but yeah, I could be here all night with you all.
Perhaps
We'll have to have you back again.
Yeah, we'll have to
Yes.
do another one where we all just show our like share our wacky, crazy Warhammer stories.
We call it the Snurgly story time. That's
Oh, just an entire episode of Snurgly story time.
Yeah.
yeah. We've done one before.
Next to
We'll
a
invite you to the
fireside.
next one.
Oh, is there a bear like a bearskin rug, and like, are you gonna set the mood for us, or?
Yes.
Yes.
We'll
Okay.
Cool. Get the
It's very
marshmallows.
nurgly though, so like you don't want to go near the bearskin rug. It's
Oh, it's actually not a bear. It's just like a furry mushroom or something.
yeah.
Now
It's
my
actually
weakness.
kind of gross. Well, on that note, I want to thank you.
Where can people
Tanya,
find you?
for joining us?
Where can you find me? I occasionally post things to Instagram, so that's where my hobby stuff goes. I have my podcast, so it's YouTube/C/Tanya Gates, all one word, and that should bring you to my YouTube channel, which is mainly focused on the podcast at the moment, just because I keep having technical problems, which don't allow me to like kind of branch off and keep doing other things. But once I get that sort of dialed in, I'll also go back to doing the short rules videos that I really enjoy making. And then you can go to forgethenarrative.net, where you can catch all of our new episodes of Forge the Narrative podcast, which if you enjoy, a sassy army major, a sassy Australian, and a sassy Canadian woman, make a Southern gentleman's life hell, that's the podcast for you, honestly.
Love it. And then you're also with Gear Guts Mech Shop as well.
Yeah, so I work for Gear Guts Mech Shop. So if you're ever looking for, something interesting and new for your greenskin army, come and check us out. We have over 1,000 designs to choose from. And, there's something for everybody there. We got some cool new releases coming out next month as well.
Ooh.
Can't wait to show those off.
I'm excited. More
Exciting.
cans.
No, but some really cool new stuff.
Okay.
I can't
No,
say
of course
anything
not.
about it yet, but yeah, some cool new
We'll
stuff.
take your word for it.
All right.
Well, I want to thank you all for joining us, and don't forget to subscribe to Chaos Divided, both wherever you're listening from and on Instagram and YouTube at Chaos Divided 40K, and you can find us both on social media at Nurgle_Snurgle and at BlushingNoiseMarine. And until next time, bye-bye.
Ciao for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.